The Teamster strike is having some effects on the auto industry here in the Arklatex. We'll tell you just what kind of toll it is taking. That coming up in the half hour ahead. Good afternoon. I'm Carl Pendley, and this is Live at 5.
Live from KSLA Television, Channel 12 Eyewitness News presents news you can use, information you want, and people who touch your life. Carl Pendley, live at 5.
Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to Monday, August the 12th, right here on Live at 5. Thanks for being with us. Today, we will update the story of 17-year-old Rhonda Asmore. She has now had a second liver transplant. We'll be telling you how she's doing a little bit later. On another medical note today, Dr. Red Duke will have some good information on those nasty mosquitoes. You know they can be more than just a pain in the neck. We will tell you more from the good doctor later in the half hour. Some murder trials are getting underway here in the Arklatex. We'll have updates on those. But before we go to all of that, the Teamster strike is now having some far-reaching effects. Barry Irwin is out at Shreveport's Chevyland for a look at today's car and truck market and what the Teamster strike is doing to that market. Barry?
Well, Carl, you know, most of the shots we've seen lately, the news items about the Teamster strike have centered on the Teamster strike out at places like General Motors and the car pickup places, but this is where it would affect people, the consumers, and where maybe some consumers are starting to find it, and that's at the car dealerships. Basically, the situation is this. The car dealers went into this strike with an inventory of however many cars they had. Some had large inventory, some had some that were not so large, but as this strike has continued, all the cars they've sold, that inventory has been eroded. What we found today by giving really a spot check throughout the Arklatex of dealers is that their situation varies, but basically they don't have the inventory that they would like to have at this time of year, and they don't have the selection that they'd have this time of year, and that's what would affect most consumers, is that they may not have as much to choose from.
Going back to supply and demand, Barry, the decrease in supply would indicate an increase in prices. Is that the case?
I don't think that's necessarily the case. This is the end of the model year, as you know. Car dealers really want to get those 85 models out of their inventories right now, and I think that that won't be the case here. If you want to go and look for a good deal, that probably now still is a good time to try.
All right, thank you very much, Barry. We'll look for more on that at 6 o'clock this evening. The body of a man found under the I-220 Westerfield overpass yesterday has been identified, that according to Bossier City Police. Detective Lieutenant Corky Deaver says that 40-year-old man was identified as Charles Allen Jones. He lived at 1555 Acorn Street in Shreveport. At first, that death was investigated as a homicide, but an autopsy revealed this afternoon that Jones died of natural causes. It was back to court this morning for Louis Pinchera. He's the Shreveport fireman accused of strangling his sister-in-law, killing her. The murder of Cheryl Harris took place back in March in her West Shreveport apartment complex. Today, Pinchera's attorney agreed to hold a preliminary hearing on November the 12th. Prosecutors say the case isn't likely to be tried until sometime next year. Now, the man accused of raping and killing a Bossier City woman pleaded innocent today at his arraignment. James Mons was arrested July the 30th in connection with the murder of 26-year-old Vicki Lynn Thomas. Her mostly nude body was found near Parkway High School in a parking lot. She was bound, gagged. Officials determined that she had been raped and she had been stabbed 18 times. Mons was indicted in that case this past Friday. The trial date set for October the 28th. A mid-air collision between two planes over northeast Texas today took the lives of at least 3 people. There could be one other one killed in that crash. We don't know for sure about that yet. That crash happened around 10:30 this morning near the Hunt-Van Zant County line. One of the 2 private planes spiraled to the ground after impact. The other was able to limp into the Van Zant County Airport and land there. Neither of the people on board that second plane was injured. We're still waiting on who the people who were killed were, still waiting to find out if there was a 4th victim. That Delta jet disaster in Dallas has claimed another victim now. A 76-year-old upholsterer from West Palm Beach, Florida, succumbed last night to injuries that he suffered in the crash on August the 2nd. The 134th victim was identified as Sidney Siegel. His wife died when the Delta jet hit the ground that fateful Friday night. Meanwhile, in Atlanta, a 9-member panel of investigators has set up shop for some routine crash investigation procedures. We say routine because that panel always goes through flight records and training manuals and payroll documents, always after a crash of that magnitude. As bad as the Delta jet crash in Dallas was, it will not go down as the worst single aircraft disaster in history. Today's crash of a Japanese Airlines jumbo jet probably will. There were 524 people on board that 747 when it left the Tokyo airport headed for Osaka. Right now, the plane is in pieces on the side of a mountain in central Japan. There are no signs of survivors. Rescue workers right now still trying to climb up the mountain to get to the crash scene. City officials in Institute, West Virginia are more than just a little upset about that gas leak at the Union Carbide plant there yesterday. What they're upset about is the way the plant's emergency response system worked. They said it didn't work as well as it should have. Plant officials, though, say the system worked just the way it was supposed to. One plant worker injured in the leak yesterday is still in the hospital. He's now listed in serious condition. There's another problem with hazardous gases today in Kingman, Arizona. A train derailment and hazardous materials fires have forced the evacuation of 125 people in 3 small communities around Kingman. So far, there's been no report of anyone hurt in that. If it seemed like it cost you more to go to the grocery store last month, well, it probably did. The latest figures on wholesale prices show the cost of food was up a dramatic 1.3% in July. Vegetables alone up 22%. Now, that's a lot. Energy costs were lower. Overall, wholesale prices were up 0.3% last month. Now, we don't know if the Pope had anything to do with it, but the timing was certainly right. Shortly after Pope John Paul's speech today in the African nation of Cameroon, that country's president announced that he will release 55 political prisoners. The Pope's visit to Cameroon, part of his 7-nation African tour, now entering its 2nd week. It's 6.5 minutes after 5 o'clock right now. You know, KSLA and Ronald McDonald House teamed up in a jazz concert just a little while ago that earned that foundation a lot of money. We'll tell you more about that right after this.